Today I'm sharing another skinny soup recipe which is very rich in prebiotics, which is very good for feeding the probiotics in our gut and making a very favorable environment for good health that leads to slimming, because people who have more probiotics lose weight easier than people who don't. Hi sweet friends, I'm Mary and welcome back to Mary's Nest, where I teach traditional cooking skills for making nutrient-dense foods like bone broth, ferments, sourdough, and more. So if you enjoy learning about those things, consider subscribing to my channel. And don't forget to click on the little notification bell below. That'll let you know every time I upload a new video. Well, as I said, this soup is very rich in prebiotics. So let's go over all the ingredients. First of all, I've got mushrooms here that I've just chopped up, and these are creminis, or you might see them labeled as baby bellas, because they're portobello mushrooms, but before they grow up and become the big portobellos. So they're called creminis, as I said, or baby bellas, but you can use any kind of mushroom you like. They're all wonderful prebiotics. And then I've got asparagus, which are also prebiotics. Now, I've cut them up just into pieces. I've got the lovely tips here, but I've also got some parts of the stems as well. Now, I cut off the very bottom parts of the woody stems, but don't throw these out. I also, when I cut up the mushrooms, I saved the little stems of the mushrooms. And I save all of this. And I have some videos, and I'll link to them in the iCards and in the description below. I've got a couple of videos that I titled Cooking with Scraps. And if you check those out, you'll find good uses for little bits and bobs of vegetables like this. Next, you're gonna want about a cup or a cup and a half, 2 cups. Again, this is very flexible. You don't need to worry about being exact, but you're just going to want to get some beans. And these are cannellini beans, which are sort of like a white Italian kidney bean, but again, you can use any bean you want. And I'll put in a little picture. These have been soaked and they're sprouted, and I'll put a little picture in so you can see the sprout on them in case you can't see it here. But the reason that we soak and sprout beans is that it helps make them more digestible and helps our gut to better assimilate the nutrients that come from beans. And if you want to learn more about soaking and sprouting beans, I'll put a link in the iCards and in the description below to the video where I show you how to soak and sprout them. And the next thing that you're going to want is a cup of barley. Barley is a very rich prebiotic. And this has been soaked. It's kind of damp right now. It's been soaked and sprouted. And I'll put in a little picture so that you can see the little sprouts, because it's going to be hard to see here. But I'll overlay a picture so you can see what I'm talking about. And again, the reason that we soak and sprout the grains are the same reason we soak and sprout our beans. And if you want information or you want to learn how to soak and sprout grains, I'll put that link in the iCard, and I'll also put a description below where I have a video that shows you how to soak and sprout grains. And if that's interesting to you, in the video where I show how to soak and sprout grains, I also show how to dry them and then grind them into flours to make your own homemade sprouted flour, which is wonderful to have on hand, and a considerable good savings as opposed to having to buy sprouted flour. Now, the only other things you're going to need is, this is just 1 chopped onion. And then I've got about a tablespoon of herbs here. This is just herbs de Provence. You can use any herbs that you like. I like herbs de Provence because it's just got a nice flavor that complements these particular vegetables well. And I also always like to add in some type of herb, because herbs are very rich in antioxidants and anti-inflammatory properties, and especially thyme, which is in this mixture. And if you're interested in learning more about anti-inflammatory herbs and spices, I have another video that I'll link to in the iCards, and definitely in the description below if I run out of room in the iCards, where I go over a lot of different anti-inflammatory herbs and spices. And then what I've got here are 8 cups or 2 quarts of chicken bone broth. Now, you can use bone broth if you've got it. You can also use broth, just chicken broth, or you can use chicken stock. And if you're wondering about what the difference is between broth, stock, and bone broth, I'll link to another video in the iCards or in the description below where I explain what the difference is between broth, stock, and bone broth. But in this recipe, especially since we're really focusing on feeding our probiotics and nourishing our gut, I want to use bone broth because it's wonderfully nourishing for good gut health. And next, I've just got about a tablespoon of ghee here in my soup pot. You can use any kind of fat that you like. You can use regular butter. Ghee is just clarified butter, basically, that's had the milk solids removed. And it doesn't burn as easily as butter does, but butter works very well in this recipe as well. You could also use olive oil or a combination of butter and olive oil, or you could even use coconut oil. That would be wonderful too, whatever you like. And in addition to these things, all you'll need now is some salt, pepper, and a few little red pepper flakes if you like a little spice. Well, I've melted my ghee, and now I'm going to go ahead and add in my onions. Oh, listen to that sizzle. I like that. Now while those onions are sauteing up, I'm just going to sprinkle them with a teaspoon of sea salt. Now, that said, I will probably add a little more salt since I am going to have 8 cups of the chicken stock or chicken bone broth in here. And I want to make sure that it tastes real nice, but we'll taste it before we serve it. And then I'm just going to put in a couple of twists of some nice freshly ground black pepper. And then just a little sprinkle of a few red pepper flakes. Well, I switched over to a little larger soup pot because I think I'm going to have more, I'm going to need more space with all those veggies. But I just wanted to show you that I've got these onions sauteed, translucent, with just a little bit of color on them. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and add in this barley. Now, as I said, it's been soaked and sprouted, but it's not been cooked. So this is going to take some time. And I'm just going to spin this all around, toss this all around with the onions and the ghee. And then I'm going to go ahead and add in the bone broth. Now we'll go ahead and add in this bone broth. Perfect. Alrighty, I'm going to bring this up to a boil, turn it down to low, put a lid on it, and let this barley cook in the bone broth for about 45 minutes. Well, the barley has cooked up beautifully. And that was just about 40 minutes. I checked it a little bit before the 45 minutes and it looks great. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in the asparagus stalks. I want to give those a little bit of a head start. Just let them simmer for a couple of minutes. Then I'm going to go ahead and add in the asparagus tips and the mushrooms because they won't take as long to cook. And then at the same time, I'll add in the beans. These just need to be heated through because, as I said, they've been soaked and sprouted, but they've also been cooked. So all we really need to do is heat them through. So I'll actually put in the mushrooms and the asparagus tips, let them cook a little bit, and then the beans actually go in last, and also our herbs at that point. Well, I let those simmer for a few minutes. Now I'm going to go ahead and add in the mushrooms and the asparagus tips. Well, I let all that simmer for a few more minutes, and now I'm going to go ahead and add in these beans, let them heat through, and I'm also going to add in our herbs. I'm just going to crinkle them a little like this to help release some of the essential oils, and then we'll give a taste and see if it needs more salt. Well, we'll just take a little taste and we'll see if it needs some salt. Yeah, I think it could use a little pinch. Well, I think it's perfect now, so let's ladle some out and take a complete taste test. Well, this looks wonderful and so rich in prebiotics, so we can nourish our probiotics, give them plenty of good things to eat to help them flourish and help us on our slimming journeys. Alrighty, well, let's give this a taste, and I'll take a picture and overlay it so you can see what it looks like up close. But I think that this is just going to be wonderful. I'll try to get a little bit of everything. Oh, that's delicious. That chicken bone broth is just wonderful. And the little bit of extra seasoning with the herbs de Provence is a lovely touch. And I really like to leave the vegetables just slightly crisp, slightly al dente. You could certainly simmer it longer if you wanted, but I like them to have some body, and the asparagus have just the slightest bit of crunch, and the mushrooms still have nice texture, and we've got the barley and the beans. This is just wonderful. It's really delicious. I hope you'll give it a try. If you'd like to learn more about traditional cooking, be sure to subscribe to my channel and then click on this video over here where I share another skinny soup along with all the science behind why we want to eat these prebiotic-rich soups to lose weight. And I'll see you over there in my Texas Hill Country kitchen. Love and God bless.